few folks before we turn the program over to Chief Blake Johnson, who will deliver our invocation. About 10 months ago, our executive director, Marianne Warner, became aware of this award and began the application process. Marianne has brought new life to our library and done so much since being hired just a few short years ago. We are so thankful and blessed to have her. Please, everyone, give her a hearty round of applause. Also, we want to thank the Texas Center for the Book, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, the Summerlee Foundation, and the Texas Library and Archives Foundation for making this awesome award possible. And last but not least, those other folks that always support Marianne and I and make all things possible. Our library staff, Tina Sarter, who's over there, Andy Williams, and Tabby Isaki. And our wonderful board of directors, Kate Brassfield, Jeanette Katner, Camry Kirkendall, Aaron Gebhardt, Carrie Hicks, Diane Mobley, and Dana Williams. Thank you, team. So everyone, please stick around after the program as there is a reception in the Civic Center, and we're going to play Will Godbee's film, John A. Lomax, A Man and His Legacy. Now, Chief Johnson will come and give the invitation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for being with us today. As you say, where two or more gathered in your name, you're in the midst. Lord, I just pray right now that as you come in, that you continue to guide us and lead us, Lord, as we seek to not just lift up people, but to lift you up in the works that you have, that you continue to bestow on us. Lord, I thank you for your friends, I thank you for your family, but most of all, I thank you for your saints. And I ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
And now the beautiful Andrea Dunn is going to sing our national anthem.
Oh my, would y'all please stand? Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Andrea. You have such a beautiful voice. I am Ryan Nunhouse, Mayor of Meridian. I just want to welcome the Lomax family, the State Library and Archives Commission, the Meridian Public Library staff and Board of Directors, Meridian Park and Recreation members, and all of our citizens and friends that are here today. I am deeply honored to welcome you all to celebrate John A. Lomax, balladeer, author, music gatherer, and past resident of Bosque County. The city of Meridian is very excited to be awarded this national literary landmark. We are anticipating many new visitors to Meridian to view this beautiful landmark and remember John A. Lomax and Bosque County. I also want to give a special thank you to Marianne Warner special thank you to all the many volunteers who put in countless hours getting the platform ready as well for the landmark. And I'm going to jump right in and give a little bit of history about John Avery Lomax. John A. Lomax was born in Mississippi in 1867. In 1869, the family moved to Boston County, about 2 miles off of what is now Highway 144. As a child, he grew up hearing many cowboy ballads sung by cowboys on the nearby Chisholm Trail and African American game songs from a childhood friend, which John had the foresight to begin writing down. After many years of school and work, including a year of teaching at Clifton College, he graduated from Texas A&M in 1897 and worked there for several years. In 1906, Lomax received a scholarship at Harvard University, where he was challenged to take up the collecting of Western ballads he had begun as a youth. For the next several years, he did just that, traveling around the country, recording the tunes and words of ballads and songs sung by cowhands, trail cooks, gypsies, buffalo hunters, and many others. Lomax's first collection, Cowboy Songs and Other Frontier Ballads, was published in 1910. In his collecting of folk songs, he traveled 200,000 miles and visited all but one of the 48 states. Often accompanied by his son Alan, he visited prisons to record on phonograph disc the work songs and spirituals of black inmates. In 1947, his autobiographical Adventures of a Ballad Hunter was awarded the Carr P. Collins Prize as the best Texas Book of the Year by the Texas Institute of Letters. Lomax was one of the founders of the Texas Folklore Society and was president of the American Folklore Society. Beginning in 1933, Lomax was honorary curator of the Archive of Folk Song at the Library of Congress, which he helped establish as the primary agency for preservation of American folk songs and culture. He passed away in Mississippi in 1948. In 2010, he was inducted into the Western Music Hall of Fame. Many of his descendants carry on his legacy to this day. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Pam Hardcastle.
Thank you, Brian. There's a famous song that I just was amazed at when I heard it that John Lomax had recorded, and it's something I think is near and dear to all of our hearts. So we're gonna play that right now.
horses and land and cattle and a chance to live so free. And I thank you for my family, Lord. They must have cried a million tears, but they stood right there beside me through the hard times and the years. So take good care of my family, Lord. See they get their share, and if they shoulder up and make a hand, see that they're treated fair. For I must bid farewell to these good things I leave behind. You know my bedroll's in your wagon, Lord, and your hands are on the lines. And I know not where you'll take me, and I don't know what you'll have me doing. I'll leave that to your calling. Wait a minute, I think I heard a pony digger and a bunch of cattle. The next one, I guess, is a favorite. They've asked me to do it again. This was written by a fellow named Sonny Hancock. My daddy used to tell me that horse traders don't stand too close to the foot of the cross. And this poem kind of substantiates that. It starts out, I traded for a horse one time. He wouldn't win no beauty prize. Just a long-eared, blue-roan gelding, but not too bad for weight and size. And I was riding some rough old circles then, and that trader guaranteed that this horse would show me lots of country without too much need of rest or feet. He said he wasn't a kid horse, though. You know, he had some snaky tricks. He said it's rumored that he bucked some, and he had been known to kick. And he couldn't trade him to just anyone without feeling a little remorse. But for a sure enough cowboy like me, he'd be just my kind of horse. Well, I rode that roan next morning, and he began to buck and bawl, and that trader didn't line up. He didn't tell it all. Because we tore up all the foliage where he threw his equine fit. I was running out of handholds before he finally quit. And that morning kind of cut the pattern. He never seemed to change, although I rode him lots of miles and I showed him every corner of that range. And every time I rode that booger, he kept me set and tight. Because I knew I was going to have to make at least 3 bronc rides before he packed me in. And that wouldn't have bothered me so much with a lot of horses that I know, but this old bruiser had my number and I could barely get him right. And the thing that hurt me worse and kind of put a damper on my pride was he was learning how to buck hard faster than I was learning how to ride. Well, anyway, we were coming into camp one evening. It was getting kind of late. And I noticed there was a strange gray horse down in my corral, and there was a saddle over by the gate. So I went down and I looked this gray horse over, and boy, I like what I see. About that time, his owner came out of the barn. He was just a kid, about 16. Said he had lamed the gray that morning coming down off the granite grade. He was kind of wondering if I might have a horse I'd like to trade. Said he didn't have time to stop and rest and let the gray horse heal. And he said beggars can't be choosers, so he'd make nearly any kind of deal. Well, when you're trading horses, I guess anything's fair. So I traded that old blue roan outlaw for that gray horse standing there. But that night my conscience got to kind of bothering me, thinking about what I did, laying that old blue roan outlaw off on some wet-nosed, unsuspecting kid. So early next morning I tells him, listen, lad, if you want to know the truth, that trade you made last night was bad. Well, that old outlaw, he's just a rascal. He'll buck, he'll bite you, he'll stampede. He's just a sorry SOB. He said, now, I can barely ride him, and if I was to tell it to you straight, I'd be surprised if you could ride him past that gate. He said, now, I've got a couple of horses out there beside the saddle bunch, and they ain't got much going for them, but I got a hunch that any of them would take you where you're going if you just don't crowd them none. Because I hate to see you try to ride that old blue roan outlaw, son. He said, well, mister, last night I told you that I'd make nearly any kind of trade, and I really appreciate you pointing out that awful mistake I made. But my daddy always told me when you're trading, it don't matter how you feel. Even if you take a whooping, a deal is still a deal. And you say he's got a lot of travel and he's not too bad on speed, and sir, I'm in kind of a bind, and that's just the sort of horse I need. And I traded for him fair and square, and dang his blue roan hide. When I pull out of here this morning, that's a horse I aim to ride. Well, I watched him cinch his saddle, and he kind of pulled his hat way down. Then he kind of stepped up in his rigging just like he was going to ride that horse to town. Then he stuck both spurs in his shoulders, and the blue roan hair started flying, threw his head back and screamed like an angry mountain. Folks, I've heard people talk about a bucking horse ballet, and I have personally seen some poetry in motion. But the ride I saw that day completely defies description. Oh, I could see it plain, just like it was played out in slow motion, branded on my brain. But if I had to describe it to you, I couldn't if I tried. But I will tell you this much, folks, all the saints that kid could ride. Why, he sat up there all relaxed, just like he was laying home in bed. Every jump that blue roan made, the kid was half a jump ahead. And when it was all over and I decided I could learn a few things still, I said, son, I owe you an apology. I misjudged your riding skills. And he said, oh, shucks, mister, that's okay. But before he started on his way, he said, if you think this old blue roan buck's hard, don't put your saddle on that gray.
Thank you so much, Don. Well, Jack, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Don. Don's here now, so I'm going to call him on up for comments from the state. He's a field representative for Texas Congressman Roger Williams. Don Nicholas, everyone.
I apologize for being late. I was in D.C. last week. You don't want to go to D.C. Last thing you want to do is you don't want to eat off the food trucks. Anyway, Congressman sends his greetings. He has been in meetings all week. He's supposed to be on recess. He's been in committee hearings all week, and if you haven't heard, there's a debt ceiling that was raised a couple of days ago, and he's got to go back down next week again to make a vote on that. So he's got it. Speaker Pelosi has kind of messed up my schedule all summer, so it continues. I don't know when it's going to end. But he sends his greetings, and he sent this note for me to read to you today. Thank you for having me today, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of Congressman Roger Williams, who proudly represents Texas' 25th Congressional District. It is with the great privilege that I'm here today to present you all with this American flag that has been flown over the United States Capitol as a congratulations to the newly dedicated John A. Lomax Literary Landmark. Literary landmarks are unique places that offer educational experiences to tourists, visitors, historians, and children across the country. I'm proud to see the City of Meridian's application was approved back in July and now will be included in the National Registry of Literary Landmarks. Now people will be able to learn more about our great city and rich history here in Meridian. On behalf of the Congressman and his whole staff, congratulations and thank you for allowing him to be a part of this day. Marianne, here's the flag that was flown and the certificate that goes with it. That's how new it is. The rubber band's still around it. And the certificate is from the Congressman. He signed it. And it says the flag of the United States of America at the request of Congressman Roger Williams and the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol and is presented to the Meridian Public Library in recognition for its acceptance in a national literary landmark. Signed, Roger Williams, Member of Congress, Texas 25th Congressional District.
Well, if you haven't guessed, I'm Mary Ann. Okay, so I am. Whoops! If I lose that, I am just really here to thank everybody for coming and really to say how excited I am that this all worked out and we were able to be selected by the state and by the National United Libraries for this great honor for the city. And I know it's going. Libraries are here for the community and for the so we are so proud to be able to present this and have this for the city for people to come and visit and tour and our own citizens to enjoy in this great John A. Lomax amphitheater. So I get to introduce Rebecca Manley, who has kind of been my right arm on this whole thing since it started back in January. And she works for the Texas Center for the Book. She is the coordinator there, and that is a division of the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. Under the umbrella of the Center of the Book National at the Library of Congress, she works to encourage literacy, reading, and library use in the Lone Star State. Additionally, the Texas Center for the Book seeks to celebrate the written word and literary heritage of Texas, and that's where the Literary Landmark Project came into being. She is an author in her own right, and so what I want to do is welcome Rebecca.
Thank you, Marianne. It's so exciting to be here, and I can't believe this day has finally made it. I'll be really brief. I just have 6 total questions for you. How many of y'all have either experienced this in Texas or from a Texan? Oh, you want to know where the best barbecue is? Write this down. I'll tell you. Oh, you're going on a trip to the Texas Hill Country? My best friend lives there. Write her number down, call her, she'll show you everywhere you need to go. Or, oh, you like live music? Look up the John A. Lomax Meridian Amphitheater, study the calendar, don't miss a show, right? I'm a Texan, born and raised, so I feel like I can say with authority that Texan code is we love to share what we love. Am I right? Right? So I can't speak for all the judges, although I was honored to be one of them, to read the nomination for John A. Lomax. But it's so clear to me and evident that that was his code too. He made his life's work to restore, share, capture, and make sure that music was heard and experienced. I love what you said about the Library of Congress, because I was blown away, and I'm blown away every time I hear that he helped the Library of Congress with 10,000 recordings for their collection. So that's why I'm here. We're here to celebrate and try to encourage more of the literary heritage in Texas. I think again about how he wrote over 10 books about what he loved. So I think I can boldly say that there probably isn't a better person or honorary figure to kick off our 4 literary landmark dedications in Texas. Like what you said, we work to increase literacy, reading, and library use to celebrate the written word and literary heritage. So as we encourage more Texans and visitors to visit places like this, I hope you'll join me in 3 things. Number 1, if y'all know of a place in Texas or a figure who needs a literary landmark, please let us know. Let us know if you want to be a part of it. Marianne can fill you in on how that process works. Number 2, please direct people to our site and join us to experience the 3 more literary landmarks. And number 3, please continue to invite and encourage people to come experience this amazing amphitheater for John A. Lomax. I know y'all will. After all, it is Texan code.
So the next honor I have is introducing Gloria Maraz, who is our new director and librarian for the state of Texas. Just started September 1st. So we welcome her and we look forward to her leadership. I know the libraries in Texas are very excited about her placement as our state librarian. She has quite a background. Prior to her work at the state library, Gloria worked at the Texas Library Association for 17 years, where she oversaw government relations, publications, public relations, and served as the editor of the Texas Library Journal. We welcome Gloria.
Good afternoon. I am ridiculously excited to be here. I have talked with all of you. I know about the favorite volunteer. I know about the history of this place. I'm good. I'm moving here. One of the very great pleasures of being able to serve as a state librarian of Texas is being able to celebrate the wonderful work of Texans and the libraries that populate our state, and the wonderful people who celebrate literature and reading every single day. So much has been said this afternoon to commend and celebrate the work of John A. Lomax, and certainly talk about a giant in the field of preservation, of storytelling, of recording. As Rebecca mentioned, and what a treasure Rebecca is to our agency. Thank you, Rebecca, for all you do. What a great way to celebrate this renaissance of literary sites in Texas. We at the State Library have been committed to working with local jurisdictions to help you all promote what's important. You all know the stories and the authors, the people who are sometimes not always celebrated as they should be. We have had fabulous support at the State Library, starting with our commission, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, and I'm happy that one of our commissioners, Arthur Mann, is with us this afternoon, and his wife, Susan Mann, who's the director of the Hillsborough Public Library, because as you all know, library people, we stick together. With our State Library and Archives Commission behind us, and with the support of the Texas Library and Archives Foundation and the Summerlee Foundation, we decided to go forward and say, you know what, Texas has 5 literary landmarks. That's so not enough in the size of Texas and the richness that we have in this state. So just because I'm a librarian and I feel compelled to give you background, be happy I didn't bring the color-coded flip charts because I do that too. But we have had 5 literary sites, the O. Henry House in Austin, the State Library and Archives Commission, which we call home in Austin, the Ann Porter House, and the Menger Hotel in San Antonio, because it had a lot of famous artists go through there, which is wonderful. But tell us about the other places, the people who have celebrated place and time and storytelling and music and the things that speak to us as Texans and us as people. The rich legacy of John A. Lomax and his family, and we are so happy to have Anna Lomax Wood here also, is that we perpetuate what's important. We capture the values and the spirit of what has borne us and what we leave to posterity. One of the extraordinary achievements of John A. Lomax was to capture the voices that are often not heard. You heard earlier about his capturing stories of African Americans, of those imprisoned, of stories that were quickly on their way out. And what a loss, not only to the state, to the nation, but to the world, not to have those powerful and meaningful stories captured forever. I am actually a trained archivist, and in my book, there's nothing more profound or important that we can do for future generations than to save and store and share those stories. So all of that comes back to you all. Your celebration of John A. Lomax, for the incredible, hard-working Mary Ann at the Meridian Public Library and her incredible board, who I know this was a labor of love. These kinds of awards, there's a national group and a state group, we do our bit, but it's the love of these people who make this happen, who say, you know what, we have an incredible story, an incredible place, and we're going to share it. So I thank you all for having this wonderful board and library, and for you all for supporting them in this work. I want to replicate what happened here in Meridian all across the state, because this is textbook of what we do to educate. This is grassroots learning at this most powerful and fundamental level. We have so many school children that need to know about John A. Lomax. They need to know about folklore. They need to know about these stories. And this is how we grow it. This is how we make it a reality in Texas. It's really fitting that we're out here in this beautiful amphitheater, out in the fresh air, in the breezes, that if we close our eyes, we can imagine John A. Lomax listening to the distant sounds of cowboys singing on the Chisholm Trail. That's power. That's place. That's literature. That's poetry. That's everything that this literary landmark celebration should be. And it is this renaissance that we are bringing to Texas. With this site, the first of 4 total new literary landmark sites dedicated over the next few months. For those of you who like to travel, travel, you can join us on October 22nd in Fort Davis, Texas, as we celebrate Longwood Taylor, who was a famous historian and journalist and wrote many great things about Marfa in West Texas. Or you can join us in Dallas on December 1st as we celebrate Ted Shine, who was known as the Dean of Black Playwrights in Texas, and who has over 150 plays that he wrote and that he helped make sure were performed on Broadway. Who knows this? We know it, and we're going to celebrate it. We will also celebrate Dr. Gloria Maraz, who is one of the most important figures in literary scholarship on feminist history and borderland culture. Incredibly important work. And you, here in Meridian with John A. Lomax, are at the front end of that conversation. I thank you all and celebrate you all and commit to you all that we at the State Library will continue to promote this site, your work, John Lomax, and the kick-A library staff that you have here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gloria. That was just fabulous. So one of the next speakers that we have tonight is Anna Lomax Wood. She will be speaking directly from the history that she knows as a family member of the Lomax family. So, Ms. Wood.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. This is a beautiful amphitheater. It's worthy of the ancient Romans. I really do believe. If it was developed and developed and developed, it would rival the Colosseum. On behalf of John's grandchildren, great-grands, and great-greats, I thank everyone here concerned for their hard work and loving attention in putting this celebration together of my grandfather, John A. Lomax. I thank Marion, Pam, Rebecca, and Gloria, and also Judge Jeff Hightower and Meridian Mayor Ryan Newhouse. Is that the right way to pronounce it? He told such a good summary of grandfather's life and career that I have to erase some of my remarks here and not to go over that again. I want to recognize John's great-granddaughter, Lindsay Smith, who is here. She drove all the way from Lubbock with her partner, CJ, and her brother and son. Yes. And I want to, she was originally supposed to speak, and I would have loved for her to say something, because they represent really the young generation, and they need to have their say now. You know, it's time for them, it's time for us old folks, some of us, to step down. But she did tell me to say this, quote, "The music John and Alan recorded back then literally influenced every musician since, directly or indirectly. If not for my great-grandfather, we wouldn't have any of the music we have today." I think you all know, of course, that grandfather grew up on a small farm right here in Bosque County. Our great-grandfather, James Lomax, made shoes for the Confederate Army in Mississippi. But when the Civil War ended, he and his second wife landed land grant in Texas. They brought their large family here in a covered wagon, a journey which was written up by my grandmother, Susan Cooper Lomax. John began working on the farm, that is, young John, my grandfather, when he was about 5 or 6. And you know what a hard life that must have been. Lots of work, preparing the ground and taking care of read again and again over the years. Nat Blythe, an African American young hand on the farm, a young African American hand on the farm, and John's boyhood companion, taught him rhymes, clapping games, and dances. John grew up with a great thirst for education, and when he was released from his duty to his father at age 21, because at that time, that would have been about 1887, I think. It was expected, or even the law in some places, that children had to work for their parents. He dedicated himself to that end, education, and taught. It took him nearly 20 years, and the rest is history. Now, I want to go back to, well, I'll just tell you one or two things about him as a person. He was an extremely temperamental guy. He was very affectionate, demonstrative, and he wasn't one of the poker face types of people. I don't know how that happened, but but he really he was explosive. He was loving. He was caring, and his family was everything to him. And he continued to help out his birth family, which was quite large. I think he had about 20 siblings, from two women, and he did that for the rest for his whole life. So we don't know why it is that people choose the path that they choose. We all know people who've grown up in the same situation exactly, and yet they go completely different ways. And John was an anomaly, yet he was a real Texan. He had all of those qualities, and he loved to tell stories, and he was an excellent and entertaining storyteller at home and abroad, and he was very popular with his friends, and this is why he could make a living later on as a lecturer. But in the end, it must have been in his nature to do this. He really and truly cherished the rough and rowdy folk, the people who made poetry from their hard but epic lives. For him, they were the heroes who built America and created its first genuine homegrown poetry. And when he went to Harvard to obtain a master's degree under the era's most renowned literary scholars, he was able to convince them that this was so, because before that, people just thought this was doggerel and trash and not even worthy of mention. And they all looked to Europe and their fine arts, so-called, for what was good and the best. I would love for you to read John Lomax's recently republished book, Adventures of a Ballad Hunter. It is truly worthwhile. There are so many wonderful stories in it about people, and there are many of these songs that were transcribed. It is a highly recommendable volume. It speaks to John's connoisseurship of the folk idiom, because he was a connoisseur. You just didn't go and record any old thing or anybody, and because the materials were also very scarce. And to the lengths he would go to find a folk singer, much as if he or she were a great star of the stage. And it speaks to his empathy and how deeply he was interested in the people he met and recorded, no matter who they were. Now, I could end here, but I could also tell you a little anecdote if there's time. Should I? Well, just a small little thing. You know, in those days, when you went visiting people, it wasn't for like a cup of coffee for half an hour. The visits could last 1, 2, or many days, especially because people were far away. So in those days, my mother, who was from Dallas, but her mother was from Marshall, Texas. She had an uncle, Herman Weaver, who had operated a sawmill and lived in the middle of the big thicket in East Texas. And Herman's wife was Aunt Anna, and they had a son named Littleton. So he had one song that he performed in a stellar fashion, and it's somewhere amongst his recordings. And I'm doing this especially to follow up on Jack Walker's wonderful poem about a horse trader, because this song was about a horse trader. And I'll try, I can't sing well, but I'll try to sing a little bit of one verse. Oh, do you know them horse traders, and do you know their stand? Oh, do you know them horse traders, and do you know their scam? Their plan it is to snide you and get whatever they can. Oh, I've been all around this world. I love that song. It's so good. So, anyway, he got there, and they recorded on aluminum disc, I believe, Herman singing this song, and played it back for him, as he always played it back to people. And so, after they had supper, he said, well, Herman, I guess I'll be getting along now. And Herman, he turned around, he saw the gleam of a shotgun. 2 shotguns, one in Herman's hand and the other one in old Littleton Weaver's hand. And they said, well, we would like you to stay. And you need to stay here and play that song as many times as you can fit into several days. And this is what happened. He had no choice. So anyway, thank you all so very much for being here. It's an honor to be here with you, and I hope you've enjoyed this program, and I hope you will enjoy this beautiful amphitheater and enjoy reading again. It's so important, and it's very relaxing compared to TV. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That was wonderful. We are ready to unveil our plaque. So with the library board, please gather around over yonder, and anyone else that would yes, and we'll do that, and then we'll convene and go over to the Civic Center to enjoy some refreshments.
All right, cool. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Here we go. Trying not to play too much of this music so I don't get in trouble on Twitch. So if you hear that mic being muted, that's just me.
We're in the midst of construction site.
There's still people coming.
This part of it's not complete. We are going to have another class. Ready? 1, 2,
Yay. Awesome. Hi, Jack.
Hey, how are you, Don? Good to see you. David, I'm sorry. I knew that. Sorry to say that.
Sorry, I'm supposed to background.